Greetings, everyone. Welcome. This is Two-Way Tonight. I'm Mark Halperin, bringing you all the latest news. The president and the first lady are winging their way back to the U.S. of A., the colonies, across what Dan Turrentine, uh, cliche in a cliche-ridden manner, would call the pond. Here's the first video we're going to show you. This is number 22. This is Donald and Melania Trump, the Trumps of Palm Beach, Manhattan, Bedminster. Boarding a plane known as Air Force One, 22. Video 22. Boarding, waving, sunglasses, more waving, fist pump, wave, another fist pump, this kind of wave, turn together. First lady wearing pants. Is that right? I don't mean to focus just on the ladies' clothes, but I don't know. How often do we see the first lady wearing pants? Is Lori? I ask you, you're a woman. Do a lot of first ladies show up in public in pants? I guess Hillary wore pantsuits.
She wears them on occasion. She wore them today when she was doing the garden tour with Kate.
She did. Interesting.
She did.
All right. That could be our lead. Pants. Anyway, they're in the air now. Nomi is here. Alex is here. The two great guests, been here many times before. We have sound galore from the President of the United States. He talked at a press conference with the Prime Minister, and then an interview with Martha McCallum. And I mean, you name it, we have a soundbite or three for it. So there's a lot of news on Jimmy Kimmel. There's a lot of news on Charlie Kirk. There's news on Luigi Mangione, if you want that. What else? More on Kamala Harris and saying she couldn't run with a gay man. Donald Trump attacked polling at Fox. Donald Trump talked about Putin. Donald Trump talked about China. He talked about energy. Most of the news made today was made by Donald Trump in those two venues. Not all, but most. And we're going to get to that. Mike Pence spoke today. Erica Kirk was named the head of Turning Point. Revealed today, maybe this was known before, revealed today that Charlie said if anything ever happened to him, he would want Erica to take over the organization, and she is. I would say in my world, the biggest debate is about Jimmy Kimmel. As we speak here right now, he's not said anything, and his bosses haven't said anything about what happened, why it happened, and if he's coming back. But if you need to do something tonight at 11:35, I suggest Wordle if you haven't done it yet. Or maybe spelling bee, because there's no Jimmy Kimmel on and you'll need some alternative. So what we're going to do, so everybody write this down if you need to write it down. We're going to, sorry, hold on, because I'm getting some incoming that could be news. No, turns out that's not news. Anyway, what we're going to do is I'm going to read a word from our sponsors as soon as I get it, hot off the presses. And then Alex and Nomi will come in and we'll chat with them a little bit, eager to hear what they think about Kimmel. And then we want your questions and comments. Alex and Nomi, they live to hear from the two-way community. Some nights, this is a good insight for you. Some nights they're not booked as guests. They'll watch the show and then they'll answer as if they're the guests. Like they'll hold up a mirror and they'll answer and they'll say, Stefano, thank you. I appreciate the question. And they'll answer alongside, and then they'll record their practice answers, and then they'll watch them back and critique themselves. That's how much value they put in the two-way community. So if you're here on the platform, you want to get in the conversation, raise your hand. Stefano, am I pronouncing your name correct? Stefano? Which is it? One if by land, two if by sea. One finger if it's Stefano. Two if it's Stefano. One, Stefano. Anyway, Stefano, I don't believe has ever been on the platform before. Am I right about that? You've never raised your hand? He raised his hand in the morning meeting, did not get called on. I will tell you, he was on the bubble. He was the Vanderbilt of guests in the morning. Did not make the Sweet 64 or whatever they call 64. Didn't even make the play-in game. But tonight, I can virtually guarantee he will be called on. Thank you for coming back and raising your hand. Eager to hear from you. Raise your hand if you're on the platform. If you're on X or YouTube, do not raise your hand. Do not put smack in the chat. Think of peace, love, and understanding in all you do, extending the presumption of grace to all, even those you hate, especially those whose views you don't agree with. I shouldn't even say hate, not in the spirit of what we're doing. All right, so lots of news to get to. First, a word from our sponsor, Cozy Earth. Alex Castellanos, I would say of all the people who come on this program, Alex would probably be the last person I would try to sell Cozy Earth pants to. I don't know why. I just intuitively think, no, maybe I should. Anyway, Cozy Earth pants, I've been wearing them, as you know, since they became a sponsor, and I was able to get some 40% off everything on the site. Go to cozyearth.com, use the promo code two-way. Pants, bedding, shirts, pajamas, all good. They're comfortable. You can wear them anywhere. The pants I'm talking about, of course, the bamboo joggers. I believe Sean has the joggers. The everywhere pant, the bedding, 100-night money back guarantee, return them, 10-year warranty. Can't lose with the bedding. And when you take the sheets out of the packaging, I'm warning you now, you might cry. You might say, I cannot believe how nice these are. These were 40% off, and they're so soft. They're almost snuggly. That's how soft they are. Sometimes you'll just get them out of the closet and just sit with them while you're watching TV or maybe drinking an Arnold Palmer because they're so soft and cuddly. Go right now, cozyearth.com, 40% off. Use the code two-way. Tell them Mark sent you. I don't know exactly how you would do that, but find some way, maybe in the message box. Built for real life, made to keep up with yours, Cozy Earth. All right, enough of this. I know what Alex is thinking, because Alex has known me a long time. Alex is thinking, Mark's a little manic tonight. It's a little manic. I know he's thinking that. I'll tell you why I'm a little manic. I went into the kitchen right before the show, and there were these chocolate biscuits that came from Italy, the famous, whatever it is, Italian grocery store. And I'd never had them before. I don't know who bought them. I did not. And I ate 3 of them and drank a green juice with a green juice chaser. And Alex, I think it's that combination that has made me a bit manic. That's your explanation. Thank you for understanding. Alex and Nomi, welcome in. Thank you both for coming.
Hi.
Always good to be here.
Yeah. Again, so much sound to play from the president on all manner of things, but I would like to start, Nomi, you first. What are your broad views of this Kimmel thing? Much ado about nothing, constitutional crisis. What are your broad views of what this means, the bigger meaning, as if you were Bill Kristol or Irving Kristol or whoever?
Or Ezra Klein, because he's
Ezra Klein, yeah.
A new version of that joke.
Yeah.
I never who died and elected Ezra Klein, like the arbiter of all politics.
It's a great question.
Side note, I have like a little, and maybe Alex will back me up on this one. I wish that maybe these arbiters of all things politics actually had a little bit of background in politics. Just saying, because sometimes I say things and I'm like, where are you getting this from?
Can I tell you a story about that? Do you know Carlos Watson, the guy who got in all sorts of legal trouble?
Yeah.
He owned Oxy. Was that what it was called?
Oh, yes, that guy. Yes.
Anyway, back, I don't
Ozzy.
know. Ozzy, thank you. Like 25 years ago, he would show up on CNN and MSNBC as a Democratic political strategist. And Alex's friends, Paul Begala and James Carville, would say, we've never heard of him. And then he started to say he worked on Zell Miller's campaigns in Georgia. And they worked on Zell Miller's campaigns in Georgia, and they'd never heard of him. So I couldn't agree with you more that if somebody's putting somebody on, say they're a strategist, you should at least be able to name one race that they worked on. You two, for instance, pedigrees as long as a Cozy Earth king-size sheet. Anyway, sorry to interrupt, but
it's a little bit ahead of me, but
yeah. Anyway, yes.
Some of that is also just, the industry. The industry, I mean, I don't know how many times you guys have been on TV and you're like, why are you labeling me that? Or like, I didn't tell you to label me that, but then now it's in writing. And yes. So, what do I feel right now? I wouldn't say it's a constitutional crisis, but I think it's a crisis that we need to be registering. If this is really about free speech, which is never about free speech in terms of Charlie Kirk or, Elon Musk's claims of free speech. Free speech is now a brand for them. Jimmy Kimmel is like the least controversial person you can imagine. So if they're going for Jimmy Kimmel, it just reminds me of that line, first they go for the communists, then they go for the socialists, then they go for the Jews, and then they go for you. And, okay, it is violent right now. I'm not going to undermine what is happening with this digital anger that is happening. I mean, I woke up this morning to Laura Loomer attacking me. And
what? What'd she attack you for?
For literally saying, quote, "This is dark and we're only 9 months in." It's not even an interesting tweet.
Do you have a history with Laura Loomer?
She went after me a few months ago. I've never met her, of all the people who stepped in, George Santos defended me.
I'll probably be attacked for this, but I think it's kind of flattering that she went after you.
If it weren't violent, if it weren't like her people they put you on a list. And so this is where I'm saying, I remember the days when we get into spicy debates and sometimes it would be very tense and not always one,
Yeah.
you get a threat every once in a while, but they're very organized. So I think what I'm seeing here, with Kimmel, I worked for Nexstar last year, and I had a little bit of an altercation debate with my co-host, and that co-host organized an online campaign to get me canceled from my contract, and it worked, even though they were the ones who walked off set, by the way.
Can you say who that was, or I need to Google?
You can Google it. It's fine.
Okay.
I don't want
to. Okay. Yeah, of course.
All I'm trying to say is, like, this is a model.
Yeah.
This is just experience. And I know there are dozens and dozens of other people who've experienced this type of situation. Kimmel being huge, I'm like nothing. And then now you've got these professors and people who work in government, or that's what's scary, is you should be able to speak your mind. And, what I said was not controversial. And what so many others have said, like Kimmel, not controversial.
Not since,
and they try to get fired.
Not since his last colonoscopy has Alex been quiet for this long. But I want to ask Nomi one more question, and we'll go to Alex. Leave aside the FCC chair's role in this. Are you troubled by ABC making the decision to suspend Kimmel for what he said? Why is it troubling that they would suspend him, independent of the FCC? Just a business decision by Disney that troubles you?
It wasn't anything controversial. And I mean, they're clearly, aside from the FCC, these big corporations, it's the fear of the monopoly, right? I'm an anti-monopolist. I do not feel that any of these companies should have this much power. Comedians are comedians, and he didn't even say anything that spicy. Bill Maher said more. Joe wrote far more. We know dozens of comedians who've been protected who've said far more.
Yeah. Okay. Alex, thank you for your patience. Nomi, thank you for that. What are your big 80,000-foot views of the l'affaire Kimmel?
Well, first I have to confess that I'm wearing bamboo underwear right now.
Good.
So I am a cozy earth kind of guy. All right.
All right.
Second,
are you really wearing cozy earth underwear?
I am not cozy earth. I've been
bamboo.
a long time bamboo guy.
Got it. Okay.
But I will get the pants. All right.
Okay. Do get the pants.
I think Jimmy Kimmel has finally done something hilarious, and that is get canceled. I think that's about the funniest thing I've seen lately from the Kimmel show. Couple of things strike me about it. One is, after a career in politics where I've regularly had attempts to get my butt kicked off of campaigns by people on the other side for saying things or doing things, this is not new. Van Jones said on CNN that, well, this is a red line that has been crossed about democracy. Well, that red line was crossed, I think, a long time ago when Barack Obama made it very clear to ABC, Disney, that Roseanne ought to be canceled. When Megyn Kelly got fired by NBC, when Dave Pell, of all people, Netflix employees, staged a walkout because of his comments about transgender. The left tried to get Joe Rogan off Spotify, right? And of course, when Tucker Carlson was kicked off of Fox, the left didn't seem to have a particular problem with censored voices. So I don't necessarily see this as anything new. As a conservative, as a freedom-loving guy, would I rather not see this? Yeah. But these are the terms of engagement now. And most conservatives will tell you we didn't set the terms of engagement. We're reacting to them. I would say that for a lot of folks, what Kimmel said was offensive. It's a little bit like blaming the rape victim for the rape, saying that maybe it was one of their own that did this. No. And that's the way it strikes a lot of folks on the Republican side of the fence.
Okay, thank you both. A little bit of news, and then we'll mix it up some more. Number 4, please. The reporting that's been done today by some of the Hollywood trades, in particular, Deadline. Deadline reported this. Kimmel made it clear in talking to his bosses at ABC, he was unwilling to apologize for his remarks, according to insiders, and was going to direct the focus on President Trump's most fervent supporters, who have been in uproar since Monday when Kimmel said the MAGA game, blah, blah, blah. Number 5, please. Okay. Disney felt that that if he had doubled down, the company would have been forced to make a more drastic decision on Jimmy Kimmel Live's future instead of the announced preemption. The company hopes that it will be able to have Kimmel back on the air, quote, soon, but whether Kimmel himself is willing is also unclear. ABC advised stations will be off through Thursday of this week, replaced by, yes, Celebrity Family Feud. Nomi, just a gut prediction. Do you think Jimmy Kimmel will be back on the air on this program?
It's tough to say. I mean, I think if it was Colbert, he'd say no. I think Kimmel's one of these. I mean, really, this is just about the personality the other day. If it was like Fallon, I think he'd be like, yes, I'm back. You know? Right. I don't know. I mean, I don't watch enough Kimmel to really get a sense. I do think he has a red line. So, you know, if I were him, I'd say, see ya, you know, give me a payout. I'll find somewhere else.
Alex, I can't remember whether I've been on Jimmy Kimmel, but I've been around him. And I would say his Disney bosses could have zero confidence that he wouldn't go on and try to make fun of MAGA again. And then that would put them in an uncomfortable position. So do you think he'll ever be back on ABC?
If his ratings were better, I'd say yes, but they haven't been. They've declined. And right. If it's such a great moment, though, if they could bring him back and he could handle it gracefully. I mean, this is a comedian's dream, right? Come back and say, "Did you miss me?" Right. He could blow this up and get people to take a fresh look at his show. This would be an opportunity to reveal a different, maybe a more ecumenical part of himself that he loves. He could do a lot with this moment, and Disney might give him that shot.
Yeah.
He might be able to do something like, you know, Mark Maron has really championed. I was really surprised that he canceled his podcast, which is obviously extremely successful. But he's been able to, you know, take it and run with it and shake things up a little bit. His ratings are down, but the ratings are down for everybody right now. It's I don't know if it's necessarily just a Jimmy Kimmel thing or if it's an institutional, you know, issue.
A little of both, maybe. All right, here's the president today with the British Prime Minister.
Gutfeld, by the way, just FYI.
Yeah, he's an exception to the rule. This is the president. I believe he was asked by a British reporter. No, that's right. The Americans didn't ask about Kimmel, but the Brits did. Here's the president in response to some foreigner talking about Jimmy Kimmel, number 6, please.
Jimmy Kimmel was fired because he had bad ratings more than anything else, and he said a horrible thing about a great gentleman known as Charlie Kirk. And Jimmy Kimmel is not a talented person. He had very bad ratings, and they should have fired him a long time ago. So, you know, you can call that free speech or not. He was fired for lack of talent.
Lack of talent. All right. Either of you want to say anything else about Jimmy Kimmel? I'm sure we'll get questions about it when we go, but either of you want to say anything else about that?
I think the president is typically wishy-washy in that statement once again.
Yeah.
I think if the president had an opportunity to go on Kimmel, he would do it.
Yeah. So that's funny. So let's talk about Charlie Kirk. As I said, his wife's taking over the organization. Here's the president, a couple sound bites, the president today, still talking about the connection between George Soros and the violent left. 6B, please. This is with Martha McCallum.
Have signs, and they're all professionally made. Real protesters make them in their basement, and they're all the same.
So who's behind it? Do you have a gut feeling?
You know, you hear Soros. I don't know. We're going to find out if he's behind it. But it's incitement to riot. That's a criminal act, and people are dying because of it. So it's really, you know, it's death. So we're gonna find out, and it should have been done a long time ago.
All right, and let's play 6C, please.
I see people saying things, they're crazy. These people are crazed lunatics, even the way they'll answer. You know, it's like you'll see them, and the things they say are really bad, but they look crazy. They're almost crazed. Maybe they're drugged out, maybe there's some other problem, but the kind of things you hear, actually you probably don't put most of them on, but the kind of things you hear are so unbelievable. You wouldn't think, you know, you're a very regular person. I am too. I'm a regular person. Who would make the statements that they make? Did you see the guy the other day run through all the flowers that put down in loving memory of Charlie? This maniac runs through the flowers, kicking them all down and stepping and stomping on them. And fortunately, somebody grabbed him and gave him a rap. But the guy looks like a normal guy. And who would do that? I mean, who would do it?
So Nomi, if you were advising the Soros organization or Arabella, the group of big Democratic donors, presumably there could be some subpoenas coming. There's a legal element PR. Is this a concern of yours that the president is going to pursue this? And if so, what can your side do about it?
I mean, of course, it's listen, I mean, there's donors on all sides, as we know. Turning Point was a well-funded, it was not a movement. It was a well-funded organization on many college campuses. I mean, I knew Charlie Kirk when he was like 18, debating him. And, that is something that the right wing is very good at doing, is nurturing their infrastructure. We, on the other hand, we may have a few donors here and there, but we don't always see things.
Did you say it wasn't a movement?
Yeah, movement. I mean, a movement is organic and no, but really, I mean, I'm not saying even some of the Soros stuff that he funds, that's not necessarily movements either. Those are organizations. Movement was like Bernie Sanders, like Zoran Mamdani. It's like, a bunch of people coming together and organically growing. I mean, Alex, I'm sure you've seen candidates build their campaigns from the grassroots up. That's not what Charlie Kirk was doing. Charlie Kirk had hundreds of millions of dollars that he was putting into campuses across the country, training young people, teaching them. I mean, that's great organizing. I'm not dispelling the amazing organizing, and I'm incredibly jealous because I wish we had that on the left. I wish George Soros funded the projects that my friends and I come up with all the time, if he's listening. Instead, he tends to fund things that are a little bit more center left. I mean, like, for instance, I said something yesterday, like, if George Soros was controlling the world, why don't we have a really strong left media ecosystem? We don't.
Yeah.
So yes, I'm concerned because what little things we do have, they're coming for. And I really hope that lawyers are ready to go. That's all. I don't know what else to say.
Alex, is this all just a bunch of words, or do you think this is going to be a subpoena fly, investigate, deposition type thing?
Again, those are the new rules of engagement. Those red lines were crossed a long time ago, where this is what makes two-way interesting. I get to have a little different view than Nomi. Charlie Kirk is organizational, bottom up, well-funded, but it's all above the table. We can see what it is. What Americans are discovering is that what they see on their TV screens that are described as, organic protests. Look at these people taking to the streets, that a lot of them, unknown to them, are funded by big organizations, by big contributors, by big money. And that's a deception that you don't see with a Turning Point. The old saying that every great idea becomes a cause and then becomes a business and then becomes a racket. That's the way Republicans look at a lot of what's been happening on the left. That is, it's a deception that these are just regular people from Washington, D.C. No, they were bussed in somewhere and somebody paid for the signs and buses. And we really don't know who. But, once you learn as a consultant, like we do, that all you got to do is fill a TV screen of some kind, then that's what you do. I wish we were as talented at it as I think the Democrats are at that. But I think it's like we learned big data from the Obama campaign. I don't think we've learned yet how to do that. We've been the party of, over the top communications, the air war. Democrats have been the ground game party. So I think that's why they are doing this. And Republicans, frankly, have not.
I wish that were the case. I so wish we were the ground game party.
Yeah.
We would have won Pennsylvania. Hillary Clinton notably did not have an office in Wisconsin. So I wish we were the ground game party. I think there are elements. I think that Zoran, Bernie, there are a couple candidates here and there every cycle. With that being said, the Women's March, that would have been a lot of buses. Black Lives Matter, the millions of people. We don't have that money. We don't have that organizing. We can't even endorse our Democratic candidates. We can't even see eye to eye on like a press release. We're a disaster.
Yeah.
This has been
disasters. But
this has been
paying for the signs and the buses.
Yeah. This has been my situation my whole career. Very smart, honest people in both parties say our party's horrible, the other party's great. I've never understood it, but it's always the case. All right, I'm very conscious of the clock because I want to get a lot of you in tonight, talk to these two great folks. So please raise your hand if you want to get a conversation. Let me just speed through a few more things. Then we'll go right to the community. I want to ask you both the question at number 13, please. This broke this morning, reporting on Kamala Harris's book. I want you both to play act. I'm going to play Kamala Harris. You play advisors to Kamala Harris. Here are two advisors, three of us in the room. Here, in headline, running mate Kamala Harris didn't dare choose. I love Pete, meaning Pete Buttigieg, she writes in her book, but picking a gay man would have been too risky. She says in the book, according to Jonathan Lemire, that she thought he would be the best person to pick and govern with, but that she didn't think the country was ready to vote for a black woman and a gay man. So, all right, I'm Kamala Harris. You guys are you. I've drafted the book. I'm about to hand it to the publisher. I'm going to write in the book that I would have picked Pete Buttigieg, except the country wasn't ready to vote for a black woman and a gay man. Okay with you guys if I put that in the book?
I mean, Kamala, sometimes you need to talk to your editors, just like we nixed picking Pete Buttigieg. It wasn't because he was gay. It's because he's unpopular and you needed to have a populist position and you're two in your little bubble of consultants. And this is why you brought in some of the Bernie Sanders consultants to shake you out of that. So talk to your editors.
So if my editors say it's okay to include, it's okay with you?
I mean, it depends on what future you like in politics, but I don't think that Pete Buttigieg, the former mayor of South Bend, Indiana, is really the next in line for the presidency. And we really need to stop propelling this. It's like we're forcing him on America, and you're just part of that at this point.
Wow. Alex, Nomi,
she's not paying me anymore, so I'm a consultant now.
Go do something else. I didn't like that answer. Alex, should I include that in the book?
I think including in the book was courageous. I think not picking him for vice president wasn't. And I think Kamala demonstrated why she lost, which is she had demonstrated the courage to do what's popular and only that. And that's not much. So
that's my main reaction to it. It's just like, why are you admitting that you walked away from the person you thought would be the best partner because you thought you'd lose over it? Just seems like something I don't even give her credit for honesty because I don't even think it's true.
And by the way, it's after America had a black president, a black vice president, craving a woman in office. Everyone would love to see progress on that.
How many gay vice presidents do you think we've had? Ooh. How many do you think we've had? There's always a lot of talk about outing people. No, we're not going. I didn't ask for names, just numbers. We always talk about people always speculate about which presidents might have been gay, right? Like
my
Jefferson.
favorite was George Santos used to say, "I'm the first openly gay Republican in Congress." But I am definitely not the first of the first.
Well, he wasn't even the first. Wasn't there a congressman from Wisconsin a Republican? No, I think there was a Republican from Wisconsin who's openly gay. Gunderson? Maybe I'm wrong. All right. I want to play one thing for you. I haven't heard this yet, but I'm eager to hear it. This is number 17. President Trump talking to Martha McCallum about Putin. This is number 17, please.
I thought was going to be easiest was going to be Russia, Ukraine, because of my relationship with President Putin. So I'm disappointed. If you listen to some people, the ones like in Poland were shot down and they fell into Polish territory, but they shouldn't have been that close anyway. They were drones. And
do you think it was a mistake? The Polish prime minister said it was not a mistake, that they were intentionally into Polish territory.
I can't comment on whether it was a mistake or not. They shouldn't have been there, let's face it. But supposedly they were disabled. Yeah. They disable drones today. That's the great attack on a drone is disabling it, and they fall all over the place. So let's hope it was that. I mean, I'd like to think the better, but I'm very disappointed in that. I thought that would be the easiest of all of them to get done, and it
all right. But dump out of this. This is anticlimactic to me. We've heard all that before. All right, markets today to number 23. Markets closed. Everything was up after a day yesterday when some up, some down. Everything green today. Everything positive in the wake of the Fed cut and some other economic news that was kind of mixed. Here's the market close brought to you by our friends at the Bahnsen Group, David Bahnsen. Let's see. There you go. Everything up. All right. Good time to remind you, David Bahnsen Group. Coming up, get out your calendars, everyone, because I'm going to tell you about an event I'm doing with David Bahnsen, September 24th. That's in 6 days, 1 p.m. Eastern time. Live Q&A with David. We're going to talk about housing, supply, what it all means in terms of the Fed cut, you'll be able to talk to David and ask him questions. He's one of the smartest people I know in the economy, and he doesn't speak fancy. He uses 50-cent words, doesn't even use $5 words or $2 words. You also subscribe to David's newsletter, the Bonson Group Dividend Cafe. David writes it himself, filled with good jokes and good cheer and a lot of good information. tway.tv/TBG to just go and sign up for free. If you don't like it, just unsubscribe, but you'll like it. It comes out every day. So subscribe to the newsletter and join me and David. Chance to ask David questions for free. We're giving it away, just like the newsletter, September 24th, 1 p.m. All right, guys, I want to show you one more thing. This is number more First Lady. Number 20, Melania Trump interacting with a little girl in the Squirrel Scouts. Is that some British thing I should know about, the Squirrel Scouts? Here it is, number 20.
Lots of artwork here. Is that all right? Amazing.
Yeah, have you found any? That has a massive basket. A flamingo. Is this one of your favourite birds? Yeah, do you like that? Yeah. Might have something. And tell me, have you been collecting all these leaves for the garden? Yeah?
No.
Do you know what any of them are called?
So we're hearing Kate, but seeing Melania, right?
Have you found any conchas?
Is that what's happening there?
Yeah?
Yes, Kate was there, but not in the picture.
Okay. And there she is, as you said, wearing pants. Alex, what do you think of the First Lady's role here? And not just in that event, and not just on the trip, but in general in this term. What do you? Is it just from a Jackie O kind of like the iconic First Lady? What do you think?
Well, first, very professionally done. Always kneel when you're talking to children.
Yeah, until they bring you a chair.
Cameras, yeah.
Yeah.
And then it should have been a throne, but two kings getting together in England, as I've been informed. I think the First Lady is being much a little better received this term, and more seriously received. I think she's not been ostracized. Talk about Jimmy Kimmel getting kicked off the tube. What was done to Melania, I think the first term was not a question of freedom of speech. It was just rude. So I think seeing her treated with a little more respect, she's a tremendous asset as a First Lady, very glamorous and well-spoken. And as a Cuban, I like people with accents.
Yeah. Nomi, I remember even when back when George Bush was hated as like the most hated Republican president of modern era. Now, of course, a lot of Democrats look at him longingly. Laura Bush was so popular that even people who didn't like him, Democrats seem to like Laura Bush. I don't get the sense there's the same past for this First Lady. Do you have positive feelings about her or not?
I mean, I'm aghast at the documentary, how much the Ratner was paid for this documentary on Amazon. I mean, it's pay to play. It's also you're just in it right now that we forgot about that, but she could be doing more. I mean, I think what was nice about Laura Bush is you felt like she had a conscience, and she was a Democrat before, and she's a librarian, so she, I think connected to most people. I don't know if a supermodel connects to most people. I don't have any animosity towards Melania. I don't really know anything about Melania other than she speaks, was a supermodel. I wish I knew more. I wish they actually spent more time telling her story, but maybe not spending hundreds of millions of dollars on a documentary about her life.
She's at Trump Tower a lot. Maybe the four of us should have lunch at some point. What do you think? You open to that? You open to that?
Be across the street.
Huh?
Maybe
across the street? It's right around the corner from the Polo Club. Is that open for lunch or just dinner? Is that open for dinner or just lunch or just for dinner? I think just dinner, maybe. I'll find a place. Alex, would you come up for lunch with the First Lady?
I'd be honored.
Honored. Okay. All right. Get ready. We're going to bring you all in. There's a bunch of other Trump sound bites on a million topics, but I want to get to questions. So please raise your hand if you'd like to be in on the conversation. We'll ask you to unmute. Tell us where you are, what's on your mind for Nomi and for Alex. But first, because all this show is a series of sponsors, one more ad. And this is for our friends at Lean, who want you to avoid, when you diet, yo-yo diet, right? No weight cycling, no gaining and losing. That's unhealthy. Weight cycling is bad, but lots of people do it. With lean, go to takelean.com to read more about it. You get to lose weight the right way. It's not one of those GLP-1s that you inject. It's based on science to do the things you need to do, maintain healthy blood sugar, control appetite and cravings, and burn fat by converting it to energy. That's the way to keep weight off. You get 20% off now. If you want to try this product and see if it works for you, please do. Go to takelean.com, 20% off your order if you use the code two-way. Please, all caps on the thing, even though the algorithm, the form doesn't really care, but I do. Two-way on takelean.com for 20% all of their products to see if you can lose weight the right way. All right. Thank you all. Here we go. As I promised, because I'm nothing else if not a man of my word. But I will also say this. I asked our first community member how to correctly pronounce his name, just as I cannot say the name of the state that Las Vegas is in. I cannot say it correctly. Nevada, Nevada, no idea, even though I've been told 1,000 times. It's Stefano, right? Or it's Stefano. Stefano. I knew I'd get it wrong, whichever way I went. Stefano, welcome in. Welcome in. What made you come this morning and back again tonight?
Well, first of all, thank you for taking the question, and
sure.
It's a pleasure to be here, Mark, and very appreciate the comments by Nomi and Alex. Just a fascinating topic and series of issues. I've been following you guys for a while.
And where do you live?
Well, I split my time between the States, Southern California, and Europe. You mentioned Europe earlier. Yeah. That's where I am right now.
Where are you in Europe? Where are you? You want to live vicariously. You don't want to be exact, but like what country are you?
Italy.
Italy. All right. Now you need more specific. Are you?
Just outside Florence.
Just outside Florence. Beautiful part of the world.
So,
all right. I recommend the pasta and the tomatoes, just so you know.
That's why I'm on lean today. I was here last week, and I'm like,
yeah.
What is this lean? I need to know more about it.
Yeah. Anyway, thank you for coming. We'd love to hear what's on your mind for Alex and for Nomi.
Yeah, I think, talking about the current state of affairs, both immediate recent, obviously because of the tragic events of last week, but also just as Mark, you and Dan and Sean mentioned earlier today, it's just been going on for so long. And just a little background, kind of following in the theme of the morning meeting, is a little bit about my background. Originally from Southern California, I grew up in a very Republican family, very religious Catholic family. I'm a registered Republican conservative. Kind of was a little moderate in my middle years, but have come back to the conservative fold. I voted for Trump 3 times. Not always enamored by how he goes about doing things and saying things, but he's an imperfect vessel. But when it comes to this, the free speech issue, I'm a very firm believer in the sanctity of free speech. I do agree with those who've been saying, especially Sean, that the majority of, certainly from the media and academia, and I'm a retired federal government employee, government agencies and departments, there's this, if not explicit, there's this implied, atmosphere of, just mind your statements because you could be in the minority. When it comes to federal government, there's all kinds of regulations of what you can say and what you can't say in certain forms. But I understand the anger, the anguish that those of us on the right have been feeling, especially since last week, but even before that. That said, it does make me a little uneasy that there seems to be a perception that we're now trying to there's a perception that certain voices on the other side are being squelched. I do agree with some of the statements that Dan and Sean made, that in private companies, if you say something or do something that makes your employer unhappy, then that's the way the ball bounces. And I do agree with the president that the likes of Kimmel and Colbert kind of had bad ratings, but it does make me a little uneasy. I'm not saying that I don't agree with what happened, but it just reminds me, and then I'll get to my question for Nomi and Alex. You know, I came across an Instagram post that had the famous excerpt from an interview on 60 Minutes with Mike Wallace and Johnny Carson back in the 70s when he asked him, why are you not more political on your show? And, you know, Johnny Carson gave the famous answer, well, that's not what the people want. I'm here to do comedy. I'm here to do this. I'm also reminded of Academy Award show from, I think it was 78. I'm dating myself, when Vanessa Redgrave won the best Oscar for Julia, and of course made a very political statement in her acceptance speech. Later in that evening, I think it was a screenwriter, Patty Chayefsky, who he did knock her down and say, look, you know, that's not the time or place for this. So, you know, that was then. It'd be nice if we were back to that, to kind of just have, as they say, there's a time and place for everything. I don't know if that's possible. One, because of the age of communication we're in, but also because, as everybody knows, we're so divided as a country. So my question is, Alex, Nomi, Mark, do you believe it is possible, however difficult, that we could ever get back to that atmosphere of just keeping it neutral in certain
you talking about
environments?
specifically in entertainment or just in anything?
Just, well, anything. I mean, look, I hardly watch the news because it's so hard to find.
Great question. Thank you for all that. Alex, and then Nomi.
Try to be quick. Yes, I think it's possible. I'm an unfettered optimist, but I don't think it's possible right now. You know, Republicans, conservatives, we believe in free speech, and we just saw Pam Bondi said she'll use the power of the Justice Department to censor folks. That upset a lot of Republicans. What that tells me is, yes, we have principles that at least we have principles we're willing to violate. On the other hand, I look at Democrats, censoring speech is one of their principles because they think it's hate speech, because they think they can build something closer to a utopian society if they use government coercion to not only for free speech, but to protect you from free speech. And so I think that's a difference. What do I think will happen? I hope that in the longer run, maybe both sides disarm a little bit. Maybe the American people decide to choose a more open society where we're all freer to speak bottom up, kind of naturally and organically, and say what we express with less fear. But that requires a little bit less at stake. I think right now we're at a critical moment determining whether we're going to continue to be a declining nation, and this may not be that moment. It's the difference between a wartime debate and a peacetime discussion.
Nomi, thank you.
I think this all has roots in capitalism, and, you know, McCarthyism was really a response to an argument about capital. You know, when we talk about socialism, it's really about our working people getting their most basic needs met, and that brushes up against the most wealthy in the world. And so what you've seen in the last 10 years, let's say since Bernie Sanders, or even further Occupy, since the economy collapsed and the internet grew, is on both sides, people being very frustrated with the state of the economy. And when more voices have that power, big capital wants to silence them. I'm not saying all Democrats are that way. I'm a progressive, I'm a Bernie progressive, and I'm definitely not saying all Republicans are that way. I think that there are a lot of populists in the Republican Party who voted on economics. But I think what capital does, and why monopoly is such a big part of this conversation, is that they skew algorithms, as tech companies have done, to make sure that we're more divisive over cultural issues and social issues, to the point where it's dangerous for everybody to have a real honest conversation about the state of affairs in this country. And of course, with these mergers, you know, they don't want to they want it to go back to normal, because in the old days, we didn't talk about these things.
Yeah, brilliant. Let me talk a little bit about comedy and respond to the question of, are we headed towards more division? So last night when the Kimmel thing happened, one of my first reactions, 'cause I know a little bit about the ecosystem around some of these comedians. I was like, people are going to come to Kimmel's defense. Like they're going to rally some big, very big names. And that's really going to trigger the right because these liberal comedians with these massive audiences, they all hate Donald Trump. They're all very liberal. And for decades, the right has been annoyed. Like, we want comedy too, and we why should our comedians all come from the opposing party? So a few things. First of all, the Kennedy Center honors a few months ago, Conan was the honoree, the Mark Twain Prize, not the Kennedy Centers, the Mark Twain Prize. Conan was the honoree, and because of what's happened at the Kennedy Center, objectionable to all these famous comedians that Rick Grinnell's running the Kennedy Center now. There were a lot of jokes about totalitarians, etc. But they were all with a pretty light touch. There was no direct frontal assaults on Donald Trump. And I thought it fascinating that maybe that was in respect to Conan or the event, whatever. But it was a much softer touch, much lighter touch than it might have been. So a couple things that are happening now. First, Brian Stelter on CNN just said, I'm told that Jon Stewart, who normally only does his show on Mondays, is doing his own show tonight with his guest, Maria Ressa, author of the subtly titled How to Stand Up to a Dictator. And of course, Jon Stewart is on Paramount, the new Larry Ellison-owned company, or David Ellison-owned company. So this is a pretty frontal assault on Team Trump writ large. And then Letterman, who was less political as a comedian than the current crop of late-night hosts. Here's what David Letterman said at the Atlantic Festival to Jeffrey Goldberg earlier today. Please roll that.
Tell us what you think about what happened last night to Jimmy Kimmel.
Take it back.
Well, this is misery. And in the world of somebody who is an authoritarian, maybe a dictatorship, sooner or later, everyone is going to be touched. But this is me. For 30 years, I did this for a living. So I see this happen. They took care of Colbert. That was rude. That was inexcusable. The man deserves a great deal of credit. He's in the Hall of Fame 9 times. And to be manipulated like that because the Ellison family didn't want to trouble Donald Trump with this move, so they got rid of him. Not only got rid of him, got rid of the whole franchise. You're not going to have to worry about anything, Larry. It's all gone. It's fine. Good night. And then my good friend Jimmy Kimmel. I feel bad about this because we all see where this is going, correct? It's managed media, and it's no good. It's silly. It's ridiculous, and you can't go around firing somebody because you're fearful or trying to suck up to an authoritarian criminal administration in the Oval Office. That's just not how this works.
Again, called Donald Trump a criminal and authoritarian. So Bob Iger, who, again, I've said this before, my old boss, I have great respect for him. He's got 2 big affiliate station owners on one, saying don't do this. He's got the FCC and the White House breathing down his throat saying, you're a regulated industry. You really better not mess with us. But then he's got Kimmel and then Kimmel's posse. And I'm telling you, if Bob called me tonight and said, Mark, what should I be considering? One equity here is these comedians, if he fires Kimmel, they're just going to go hard after Disney. And they're going to have problems with their talent on sitcoms. They're going to have problems with all sorts of things, agents. So Bob does not have an easy decision here, and maybe they can find some other place for Kimmel to be, but there's no splitting this baby. Alex, why are you shaking your head?
Well, first of all, it's good to see that Dave Letterman is still so funny. He's pretty funny. Where were all these people when Gina Carano was fired from the Mandalorian, Disney franchise, right? Where were all these people when they went after Rogan to get him on Spotify? Roseanne, by the way, Roseanne did one tweet.
Yeah, Sage Steele lost their job. How about Sage Steele at ESPN, a Walt Disney company? They were silent about that or rooted it on. Nomi.
I think there's a difference between hate speech. We're just saying political beliefs. We have to separate political beliefs. Like if they're arguing over tax policy, okay, fine. But this is hate speech. Like Roseanne Barr is like absolutely out of her mind hateful. Like she puts people in danger. What Jimmy Kimmel said, if you listen to it, if we have that clip, it's like the most neutral, like, okay, he has an opinion about Trump, but that's it. It's not like he's inciting anything. Roseanne is absolutely out of her mind.
Nomi, do you look back on 20 years or so of the left canceling conservatives at places like Disney and regret what your party not only stood silent but encouraged it? Do you have any regrets about that?
I think, listen,
I don't mean personally, but on behalf of your party.
I think the market speaks. There was a situation. This was not the market speaking. What happened with Bill O'Reilly, who I used to be on his show every week on Wednesdays, was the market speaking. And let's not forget, he had real issues, like there were actual issues with women that hurt people.
But how about Sage Steele? Do you know the circumstances of her firing? Her
I don't even know who Sage Steele is.
Okay,
Sorry.
that speaks volumes. I say with respect. I say with respect. But you've chosen Bill O'Reilly is kind of a good example for you because there's facts. But plenty of conservatives not allowed to speak on college campuses. Plenty of conservatives fired from their jobs for conservative views.
What about the actual college professors who are being fired? I mean,
lots of conservative professors have been fired for their thoughts.
Are they hateful thoughts?
Yeah.
So this is the difference. If it's just a theoretical argument, but it's a different thing if it's hateful. And so free speech absolutism is always one-sided when I hear it. But aside from that, I think the consideration is the top-down thing. And Donald Trump, just real quick, they're making they're taking a bet right now. Donald Trump is going to lose the House most likely. Where is this going to go in 2 to 4 years? They're making a bet on what, the next year and a half. They're suspending all rationale. I mean, it's not, they're partnering up with Donald Trump. They didn't partner with the Democrats. Disney never partnered with the Democrats.
If I can just briefly add that the old Cuban saying I've mentioned many times on this show still applies: never spit straight up. I think what's happening now to Democrats is they spit straight up for a long time. And for a lot, to understand the conservative reaction here, a young man was murdered at 31 in front of his wife and kids, and a late night talk show host, we hear him say it was by one of his own, as if he brought this upon himself. And I do think that is a horrible and hateful thing to imply. Did he mean it that way? My fear is that he lives in such a bubble that he didn't realize what he was saying. He's so isolated from the rest of America, the elite. That's what he thinks of the little people down there. So I do think it was an awful thing to say.
Yeah. Nomi, did you? Go ahead.
You are very responsible with your words, your thoughts. You're never inciting things for clicks. I knew Charlie Kirk. I debated Charlie Kirk. I think what happened, you should be off the table. We should never even get to that level. But he also understood how this algorithm worked and said some really incendiary things. And there is a responsibility.
No, don't go there.
Well, it's true. I mean, he admonished Martin Luther King. I mean, there is a long list of things that he has said, but I'm not saying he deserved any of that, but he played into the algorithm where this predatory world lives. You are very responsible with your words. I have been very cautious about what I've been tweeting, knowing very well that if you say the wrong thing, the beast is awakened. The problem is it's the platforms. And, and people make money off the platforms, but it's also where the extremism lives. And so, that's my concern here is, it's not really free speech. It's part of a business model.
Did you ask to hear the original Kimmel sound that set all this off?
Sure.
Did you ask? Did you ask to hear that?
Guys, if you have it, yes, I'd love for people.
Okay, let's play it.
Handy. I'm not hosting your show or anything.
Yeah, no. We like when you direct and produce. Play the original Kimmel sound. Nomi's the only one who's never heard it, but let's spend some time.
I have. I'm saying.
Well, so why do you want to play it?
Because I think that we're talking about something, and when you actually hear it, it's not that. It's not anything controversial.
Well, all right. We already had that disagreement. All right. Let's thank you for that. I understand now your point. Simha, welcome in. Brooklyn in the house. Tell everybody what's on your mind, please. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for calling on me again. There's so much about this Jimmy Kimmel thing in particular that I find upsetting. The FCC perhaps putting their thumb on the scale, but ultimately, and I'm not shedding a tear for Jimmy Kimmel at all, but ultimately this comes down to his success or failure as an entertainer, and I think this was consumer based. And you look at over the years in the history of whether it's sports, politics, entertainment, the people who are successful survive. Howard Stern said things a lot more offensive than other people who didn't survive. Elliot Spitzer here in New York, to give a New York example, couldn't survive his scandal because he wasn't liked, and Bill Clinton survived his because he was. And Jimmy Kimmel's downfall isn't because the FCC put their thumb on the scale, but it's because the viewers had enough and revolted, and he was not worth the trouble. Howard Stern was worth the trouble.
It's just not factually correct, though. He'd be on the air tonight if the FCC hadn't done what it did.
Well, I'm not sure, Mark, because I think Sinclair was the catalyst, and they had a huge.
But I don't think Sinclair knew it happened until the commissioner of the FCC said it. The chair of the FCC said it. It said it on Monday. He said it on Monday. The stations saw it. But again, leaving aside the FCC, until he said this, the market hadn't spoken. He's still on the air. So I don't think
but he was struggling, and he didn't have the political or economic capital because he had already alienated so many people to say something like that.
It certainly put him in a weaker position. How were Imus's ratings when he got kicked off the air?
Well, I was actually thinking about Imus, and that does undermine my point to some extent.
I think I take your point, and the market certainly is a factor, but I think every case is different. But
ratings.
Say again?
Tucker's ratings.
Yeah, Tucker's ratings, right? The market wasn't speaking regarding Tucker.
But Tucker's a good example because, and this is why I fear this. If I were to look at it as an American or as a conservative, if I would define myself, that is, if the FCC is going to start to say that if you're lying or misusing the airwaves, we can come after you. Fox News, and the reason they fired Tucker was because he wasn't worth the cost. They paid $750 million for spreading lies. And so the next FCC commissioner from the other side of the aisle can say, we're revoking Fox. I get that there's a distinction between cable and network, but
well, it's not a small distinction. It's pretty black and white.
Understood. But conceptually, we are heading, if we are going to allow the government, I mean, this is textbook First Amendment stuff. If we're going to allow the government to manipulate licensure because of something that someone said that is offensive, I think it's a road we don't want to go down.
Totally
I'm very happy that when the market speaks, I'm not happy when the bureaucrats do.
Couldn't agree with you more. Thank you for that. Okay, let's see. I've checked the clock. I think that's going to be it for community members. I apologize. More tomorrow, 9 a.m. Eastern time. Alex, just a closing sentence or two from you. What are you thinking? I want to have you on the program between now and Sunday. What is your fondest hope for the Sunday memorial for Charlie in the football stadium? What would you like to see come out of that event?
Less politics and the celebration of a life well lived. Somebody who loved his family, who loved freedom, who maybe changed America for the better, especially in the moment that he left it. I would hate to see it lessened and made smaller by kind of some of the charlatans we have on both sides trying to take advantage of it. That's my fear.
Yeah, but your friend Karl Rove wrote something very similar in a Wall Street Journal column today. Nomi, let's assume, unfortunately, Alex turns out not to be true, and some of the speakers, maybe even the president of the United States, talk about the radical left and all that. Is it possible for you, other people on the left, to watch that event, hear that, and not have that be your only sort of prism through which to view the event?
I think.
Does that make sense? That question?
I think it's going to be hard for anybody to watch that event, even if they behave the way Alex hopes. Let's just start off with the fact that they've commodified the event. I mean, that's icky in itself. This isn't a state leader. This wasn't, I mean, it's a commodification of something. And it's like a lot of this stuff is built off of the clickbait, and it's like they've clickbaited somebody's death. And, on both sides, I will say that, like, people are clickbaiting off of this. I just don't think I think this is a really dark place we're about to go into.
It wasn't somebody's death. It was somebody who was murdered.
Yeah. Again, I'll say again, I don't mean this to be pushing back on you, Alex, but I just ask everybody to extend the presumption of grace to people speaking on live programs. Like, not every word's going to be perfect. Nomi knows he was assassinated, but again, I'm not being critical of you. I just always like to
point right here.
I always like to make that point, like, just, nonstop on X in particular, people are like, well, you said this. It's like, it was live. Like, these are not scripted programs. Thank you both for being here. Love having you both on, and I hope you'll come back soon. Right now, turn over to Michael Moynihan's channel, The Moynihan Report. Colby Hall, founding editor-in-chief of Mediaite. My next new episode of Next Up has dropped. You can go listen to it as a podcast or Watch it on YouTube. Christy Nome, my friend Noam Dorman, it's the All Noam episode, who owns the Comedy Cellar. We talk about the Colbert thing, and then my reported monologue is on the Colbert thing, and try to break down why Bob Iger is in such a tough a position now because of all these competing equities, and how the left is panicked because major organizations that used to lean left hard, implicitly or explicitly, like X and CBS and maybe TikTok and maybe CNN, are now going to be controlled by Trump allies. And people on the left are understandably freaking out about that, but with no sense of irony that they used to control everything, and now they're upset that someone else is going to control some things. Grateful to you all for watching. I will see you with Dan and Sean at 9 a.m. Eastern time tomorrow on the morning meeting. Have a good night.